Well, welcome everybody to our January meeting of the Detroit Area Woodturners. We aren't meeting in person because of our friend COVID, but we are meeting remotely. So welcome everybody. Are there any new members or guests that have would like to introduce themselves? If so, raise your hand and one of us will highlight you.
Mark,
Yes.
this is Ron Campbell. I haven't been to a meeting in ages, and Bob's been after me, so it was nice to join your group again and see some familiar faces.
Well, welcome. Anybody else?
Glad to have you here, Ron.
For other announcements,
Mark,
yes.
if you want to highlight me, I'm a visitor. I was a former member of the club back when we first started the club. And it's been many years since I've been back. But it was nice to see several people that I haven't seen in an awful long time.
I remember you coming over to the Blue Water area Woodturners there in Richmond.
Yeah, I helped start that club as well. All of these clubs, we only had one club in the Detroit area, and then afterwards we ended up with, I think, 5 total that broke off from it.
Okay.
Nice to see you back, Ruby.
Yep, great to see you again, Ruby. All right. Back to you, Mark.
Okay. So we've been announcing that our membership chair has been Cindy, but that's actually changed. It's now Paul Schultz, and the information's been updated on our webpage. So this is a reminder that the 2022 dues are due for you. If we don't receive your dues by March, we're going to consider you that you don't want to continue, and we'll move you over to the past members list, and we'll stop sending you notifications for our meetings and activities. So I'd urge you to go on to the website, click on the PayPal links, and you can pay that way. Easy to do, or if you want, you can print out the membership form and mail it with your check to Paul Schultz. Chuck, can you share the treasurer's report with us, please?
Yes, I can.
Whether you share your screen or just verbally, it doesn't matter.
I'll share screen. Probably a little hard to see, but let me see if I can make it bigger. So for all of 2021, we took in $7,414.20. A majority of that was dues. And then we spent $7,728.44. So overall, we came in at a loss of $314.24 for the year. We did have to buy, we did have to rent storage space, which was a major expense at $2,300 and change. And we did have, we bought new video equipment and things, and that was about $900. Next one is...
Okay, so we've still got a whole bunch of money left in the bank, even though it shows that we didn't bring all that in this year.
Yes, we have $15,561 in the bank.
Good enough. Another thing that I want to bring up is our scholarship program. Each one of you should have gotten a link to the website that shows the scholarships and also included the requirements to be able to apply for a scholarship. So if you think you're eligible, active, and meet the requirements, and you want to get help with tuition to a school or professional woodturners class or attending the symposium, fill out the paperwork. You can email it to Detroit Area Woodturners at gmail.com, or you can get it to one of the board members, one of the elected officers, and we will review that at our February board meeting, which is going to be next month. And then we will, am I remembering this right? We review it in the February meeting, and then do we announce it at the February meeting or do we announce it at the March meeting? I don't remember.
March
you want-
meeting.
Either way. So if you think you qualify and you want to take a class or go to the symposium, fill out the paperwork, and there is money allocated in the budget for scholarships. We've lost one of our members since our last meeting. Dave Meyer passed with a heart attack. So can we have a moment of silence to remember Dave and all the things that he brought to the club? I'm never sure how long to let that moment go. So thank you for thinking about Dave. Cindy Yates is our new safety chairman, and she wanted to take a few moments to talk about safety. So can somebody highlight Cindy and give her a few minutes? You ready, Cindy?
Yep.
Okay, go.
All right, everybody. As your new safety officer, we're going to try something new this year. And we're going to start off the meeting with a 5-minute safety brief. There's too many things that happen on the lathe or other tools in the shop. We all need to be aware of them. And the first topic I'm going to bring up is take a time out before you start what you're going to do on the lathe. I have found that if I get all set up, get my tools ready, I take a stop, a pause, and I say, okay, am I doing something unsafe? And I think it's important that we take that time out just for a minute. Do I have my shield on? Do I have my mask on? Are my tools sharp? Things like that. So I want to take a moment to say we should all take a quick time out just before we begin and review what you want to do and how you're going to do it, but be safe. And the other thing I want to do during the meetings is if anybody did anything on their lathe or other tools in their shop that was unsafe and you want to bring it to the attention of the club, please do so. Now's a good time. I don't know if anybody has anything they'd like to bring up that was unsafe that happened to them recently. But if you do, speak up then, and we'll share it with the club so other members don't do the same thing. One of the things that I did, it was a couple months ago, I had a long sleeve t-shirt on it, and it happened to be a little bit too big in the sleeves. And as I reached over my lathe, which I shouldn't have done, the chuck grabbed it, and basically it ripped it off my body. Luckily, it was just a scrap t-shirt. It was real thin. If I hit my emergency stop, but if I wouldn't have done that, you know, I could have been hurt really, really bad, or, you know, break your arm, twist your arm, whatever. So, but that's all I got, unless anybody wants to say anything. Thank you.
Hey, Cindy,
Yeah.
this is Jeff. I do want to say, getting back to the timeout thing, that's a very good idea. When I had my famous bowl in the head incident back in 2015, I had been working 6 hours straight without taking a break. I was overly tired, wasn't thinking straight, and that's what led to that accident. So yeah, take those breaks. Think about when you're getting ready to start, think real heavily about what you're going to do and the steps you're going to do it, because that just helps index it for you and send you on a better road to success.
Yeah. Thanks,
And keep you
Jeff.
safer.
Yeah,
Cindy?
absolutely.
This is Howard Clock. I have one for you.
Okay.
I have this is non-related. This is kind of related to wood turning, but it didn't happen to me. I have a good friend who is a jeweler, and he's been a jeweler for 30 years or so. And he was polishing a necklace on his buffing wheel. And he said he let his mind just float out for a split second. Next thing you know, and everybody I think can relate to this using us the sharp tools that we do. A split second later, the chain wrapped around the buffing wheel and then wrapped around his thumb, and immediately broke his thumb. He was in excruciating pain, and went to the ER, to a walk-in ER, and they did x-rays, and he had separated and broke his thumb right at this joint. So he said, I just lost my focus for a split second. I said, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. Those split seconds can cause injuries like this. So, you know, that's one of the things that we all experience as wood turners. And actually it's a benefit, because it helps you focus, and it helps you, you know, get everything out of your mind, and you're just focusing on where your tool is touching your wood. But it's so easy to lose your focus for a second, and then bad things happen.
All right. Thanks so much. That was.
Yeah.
Cindy,
That's
I
great,
have one
great.
comment too.
Okay.
That's when you're polishing, when you're putting anything on, never use a rag. Never, because rags get caught and people
Right.
lose fingers. Paper towel, it's the only way to go when you're polishing.
Right.
All right,
Right.
I'm going to have an argument about this. I know. I have never ever had problems with rags being caught. Now, I'm not saying they don't get caught. I've never had one that has pulled on me, and I wear long sleeve jackets all the time because I would have no skin left. It is the way you hold the cloth. Now think about this. You use cloth back sandpaper. You use those like the mats that are like cleaning pads for polishing off things. There is no difference between using them and cloths. It is the way you hold it and use it. The worst thing of the lot is how many people use steel wool. Steel wool, in my opinion, is the most dangerous thing to put near a lathe. A, because it can catch fire very easily if you've got any sparks or anything around. It's also, it virtually forms knife edges when it bunches up and gets caught. So, in my opinion, steel wool shouldn't be used with great care. But as far as cloths and paper towels go, like up until 15 years ago, cloths were quite normal to use on a lathe. I think everybody uses it. Now, cloth give a better finish than paper towel. Paper towel can be a little bit abrasive, some of the cheaper ones, and actually leave lines in the work. Paper towels can also break up and leave white patches in the work, like in the finish, because it breaks off and leaves little bits and pieces in there. The way you use a cloth, and I'll just use this serviette as a thing, is you fold it up into a fairly tight little wad and you hold it with your thumb. Get in the camera, Robbo. Hold it with your thumb underneath it like that, so that if it does get caught, it just rips straight out and generally disappears down the dust extractor like sandpaper does. So, my opinion, there is nothing wrong with cloths. People just haven't been taught how to use it properly. And you get a far better finish with a cloth. All right, that's my devil's advocate for the day.
That's great. I mean, all these safety precautions and what to do and what not, we all need to take notice of them and just be aware. We want to be safe in our work environment. Thanks.
Sorry, Mike, I wasn't having a go at you.
No, that's okay.
No, we understand. Yeah.
Cindy,
You're
right.
right.
I agree.
need to
I
be
use
taught.
cloth. I use cloth all the time. I cut them in 7-inch squares or so, make them into a pad. It's been pulled out of my hand several times, but there's no chance of it wrapping around anything.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, but off of that, a safety item in particular, my friend just retired from Cranbrook, and he is building his whole studio practice in his house, and he related an instance. I don't know how many of you use rotary or any kind of power tool that plugs in, a hand tool that you walk around with, etc. He was changing the drill bit on his drill, and he had it plugged in. And his finger hit the switch and dragged his other finger with the chuck key, between the chuck key and the chuck, and processed it through that gear. And it was painful. And he's slowly recovering. It did not cause severe damage, but it put a massive gouge in his finger. Always unplug your power tools when you're doing anything, and particularly those little pad sanders and stuff. You think they're rather benign, but if they turn on with some, say, 100 grit paper in it, before you know it, it's scarfed up a nice raw spot on your skin. I always unplug everything, and particularly like a die grinder. My gosh, I shudder to think what that thing could do to you if you hit the switch.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. I have 4 pages typed out of safety things that we're going to discuss in the next year or so. So it's, like I said, we just want to take a quick time out, and every month we'll start a meeting with a quick safety brief. It's something that we've gotten away from, and we need to do it. So I appreciate all the input. Everything that everybody said was great, and I know I'm going to benefit from them. So thanks.
Thank you, Cindy.
So Jay Penfold's got his hand raised for something. After him, then
Yes, we talk about safety in the shop and different machines. One of the most dangerous things we have in our shop is a table saw. And I used to work at LaFata Cabinets, for example. We had a guy named George that worked in the shop, and he had a habit of putting these loose cloth gloves on when he would push material through the saw. And unfortunately, one day his hand got closer to the blade than he thought it was. The blade got a hold of the glove, took off 3.5 of his fingers and half his thumb in one split-second motion. If you're wearing soft gloves, especially around rotating tools, it's extremely dangerous. So you got to be very careful around any kind of bladed tool whatsoever, and do not be wearing soft clothes, as Cindy was saying about the sleeves and so forth. There's one more thing: sleeves, gloves. You can lose fingers in a heartbeat. You can lose up more than your fingers. So, no gloves.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your input for our safety talk. And now we're going to go to Ken Kernicki and Jeff Walters out at Ken's shop, and he's going to do our demo for today for taking a bowl that you've already made and turning it into a mask. I'm not exactly sure how he's going to do it, but I'm interested in seeing. So take it away, guys.
I'm gonna go to Jeff's shop because I don't see Ken. So, and there's Ken.
There's
Okay.
Ken. Yeah, stick with me for a second. I'm going to switch over to the telephone. If you could highlight the phone, my phone, that would be great.
What's it called, Jeff? Yeah, you muted yourself, dude.
I got it.
Jeff's phone.
It's pinned.
Okay,
All right, are we on?
you're alive. You look this way. Yep, this is the audience.
All right.
We don't see you.
Welcome to my shop. We have feedback.
Yeah.
Hang on. All right.
Go ahead.
All righty. Well, anyway,
We still got
shop, as
you.
I said, today,
Hang on.
I would like to dedicate this to Ted Gauthier and Dave Muir, two of our guys we lost last year, super wood turners and people, and so we're gonna hopefully they're watching. Keep me in line. But anyway, what I did was I came up with this. I've heard it before, but basically it's a bowl that you take and turn into a mask. And we all have bowls that haven't turned out properly. So, you know, what do we do with them rather than burn them, or we can modify them into, you know, some other kind of a form. And then, you know, the mask theme with the COVID and that, everybody's the mask crazy stuff. So we can, you know, if you want to make your own mask cover, you know, feel free to have fun. So anyway, so I don't like.
Let me.
Do we just hand down on these guys here?
Yep.
And so essentially, what I did, I have this layout here. These are a couple of bowls that I had previously made. These can be cut up and modified into a bowl type system. This here, Marilyn Campbell. I was looking into some of her work, and she had this type of a deal. This was a bowl that had been cut in half and then glued together. And then she makes like a pedestal base on them and so on. And so that was something in idea that I toyed with. And Stephen Hogben, he's another wood turner from way back. And he was the walking bowl. I don't have any examples of that because I didn't figure that quite out. But so basically what I have is in a sequence here is I have a blank. This is the back side. I turn, and then I'll turn this into a bowl. And then what I'll have is I'll have a portion hollow bowl, and I secure it to a safety piece. This is safe. You have to have something to hang on to. So just hot glued and taped on there. So when you go through the bandsaw or chop saw and sand it, that you have something to hang on to that's not going to flip on you. And it's very crucial to go this route. And then after you get the two pieces cut, you'll end up with a form like this that you glue together, and essentially have a foot is gonna, you know, most of it's gonna be taken away. And then this was my finished product on the first bowl that I did. And it ended up, this was actually elm though. It was a ugly bowl and still an ugly mask, but it did, it turned out, you know, it was fun. And so you can, there's different options, medieval masks, clown faces, animal faces, and what have you are all, you know, part of this, whatever works for you, whatever you enjoy. And so what I'm just going to do a quick spin on this, and I'll go through this just to, you know, everybody knows how to make a bowl. I'll just show you my setup, how I start out, and then we'll move through the sequencing. And and then we'll get into some adornments also.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, hey, Ken,
Go ahead.
So while you're doing this, while you're turning this bowl, I'd like to know what you're thinking about design process wise, so that it works when you cut it in half. You know, what sort of things you have to do so that it goes together well when you cut it in half and reverse it, if you follow what I'm saying.
They would like to know, as you're starting this process, what design process you're thinking about to decide how you're going to cut it in half. And,
while you're going through it.
While you're going through it.
Okay. Well, so what ends up happening is the thickness of the bowl that you start with is going to determine the angle that you go with on your when you cut it in half. And essentially this here was 15 degrees. So the total angle ended up being about a 30-degree angle. And that gave me a nice sweep. The larger the angle, the tighter the form will be. The pod form. That's another thing too. You can make pods out of these, but that would change that. But I'll try and show you a little bit once I get to that next phase there of when I set it up on a bandsaw and show you what I came up with for sort of a guideline. But so I'm just going to spin this real quick, and then like I say, I usually just a spur center works good for me for stuff like this. Yeah. There, so we don't get too much shames on us there. Anyway, now this here is this wood is called jelly tong, which is we use it in the model making business. It's very soft. It's sort of a we call it swamp wood, and it grows fairly quick, and the grain is very fine on it, and so it essentially right there. That was no, the other the backing. That will work. Yeah. And so the jelly tongue now is fairly easy to carve. It's but it doesn't have a good presence as a wood finish. You would have to paint it. It doesn't take stain really well. It's just sort of a bland wood. So, but so what I normally do is I get that started up. I use this here live center, and that gives me with this gives me a approximately 50 millimeter to 2 inch for my stub for my chuck. So I usually use that as a guideline there. And Jeff, could you hand me that red contour gauge there, that plastic? Yeah. And so if you're doing multiples in that, what I do is I usually use a contour gauge like this. You can use cardboard, whatever you want. And anything larger, you have to make your own template. In the ballpark. can see, this wood is fairly soft. Does a pretty nice job of turning, and it's easy to carve. And so I'm pretty close there on my contour. Seeing as I'm going to be doing a lot of carving, there's no need to get too crazy sanding or anything like that, because you're gonna end up doing something with it anyway that's gonna cover it up. But so pretty much that's it. I spin it and then turn a regular bowl like I would a bowl form. And so I already have one over there. And contour gauge, it's pretty close for you know, eyeball. And I'm gonna get back over this way. And so now you end up with this form turned into a bowl. And then what I'll do is, the main thing is you want to do a straight cut. I use tape for my any kind of tape, but this is a chart tape. It's fairly thin. You can get these at any art stores or have you. You want your grain pattern is critical because you want your grain pattern to be perpendicular with your glue line for strength in that. And then normally what I do is I'll use the tape as a guideline, because it's, you know, you can use lasers and stuff if you want. It's sort of however you want to get a reference line on there. And then what I do is I take this to the bandsaw, and it's sort of convenient that I have my shop here now. And so the original cut is going to be with the table at 0 actually, perpendicular to the blade. I'll cut through, and then what I'll do is this particular blade setup was set at 15 degrees, so my actual total angle will be double, which would be 30 degrees complete. And so what I did was I took the piece here, and I have cut these backwards, as you can see. I did it reversed by accident. But so what I'll do is I'll set that to the blade, and I'll measure it. And this, you know, I'm in metric right now, so I'm 15 millimeters, approximately 3/4 of an inch. And then I'll put this piece of tape as a guide. Doesn't have to be, you know, exact, but that will give you a reference point. And then when you go to cut this, you're gonna just eyeball it straight through. And when you cut, you're gonna end up just cutting this, but you're gonna end up cutting part of this a little bit heavier. And I did mark a couple of lines on there. That was my 15 millimeters. And again, I can't emphasize having a board or something. This is just a piece of masonite, hot glued with tape. It keeps your fingers safe. If you're using a chop saw, be very careful. Make sure that you're secured. And so this will be a little noisy, but I'm gonna set this up and cut it. On the bandsaws, unfortunately, most people, when you're cutting angles, they forget where their fingers are at, and sometimes they end up putting them in the path. And you know, you really pay attention. So we end up now with a 30-degree angle total, which brings us into a little more of a pod face. And then you can take and sand this on a flat surface with some sandpaper. Get them to where your line is tight, or if you have a disc sander, I set the disc sander at 15 degrees, and hit it on that. And again, a disc sander, you got to be careful when you're going in at angles this way, because it'll want to grab. So, you come in slight and keep your fingers back. And so, okay, I'm gonna head back over here.
Okay.
And so pretty much what you end up with, I hand glue these, I use tape, piece of tape here, piece of tape on the back with some wood glue. And that sort of puts us in a pretty nice pod. And from there, you would go to your layout. And now there's one option you can do too, is you can cut this bottom as a reference, even before you get to this phase, and use that as sort of like the chin area. It's an optional thing, This bowl happened to be missing that area, so that's why I used it. So
Hey,
anyway,
And I have a
so
question.
from that,
Ken, we got a question.
oh, sure.
Go ahead, Alfred.
Yeah, what is the reason you are using that contouring jig? What purpose does it serve?
I didn't hear you, Alfred. Let me,
What is the reason what is the reason why you were using that? What purpose does it serve?
This
the
device.
contour.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is, if you find a shape that you really like, if you find a shape that you like, the contour, you just use that as a reference to copy that.
Oh, okay. It's just a reference to duplicate another shape you have done before.
Yeah, because
Okay.
you can take some of this, like if you want this to be flat, or you would use a smaller angle, and maybe you would do a larger diameter bowl.
Okay.
And so that would give you a flatter surface, depending on the application. This here, the total 30 degrees seems good for this application. So it wraps good. Does that answer that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And like I say, you can make cardboard templates also if you like. It's just something by choice. And so anyway, so what we get to now is the layout portion. As you can see, the foot here now is actually going to be like part of the mouth and the nose. So from a artist perspective, it's not laid out, like a regular face. We're a little off on our what do you call it, proportions. But essentially, find something that looks good, and I just do this, sort of look at that, see how crooked I am, which is quite crooked. That would give me sort of like the eye shape where I want. And there's no rules on this. You can mess with it a little bit. Nose wise, you can bring it down to this area here, and then the mouth, it can be whatever shape that you prefer. And then, this one now I sandblasted this and taped it. So that's what gave me the surface, change in surface, but a little, and so that's how we get to this phase here. Any other questions? I'm not sure if there's anything else I can.
Nope.
No. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a little bit of carving and so on this, just to give you an idea of how I go about it, and show you some of the tools that I use. Here's one of the here's a protractor that it's for machining stuff. This comes in handy, setting up your machines in that. And I use I have rasps, A lot of this is handwork now, so you can, depends on if you're a purist or not. You can use hand tools or go with power tools. I have an assortment of carving knives and chisels and that are used. Files, these type of file rasps come in handy. They're a little bit coarse and they work real well to get into the tight spots. These here, you can find these around, if you can find they're very expensive, some of the better brands, but you can find them at garage sales and that sometimes fairly cheap. This is a file that I purchased, which I bought this through Woodcraft, and it's quite expensive, but it really does a nice job. And it's a Japanese file, and it actually works on the pull stroke instead of the. It really rips out the material quick. It has the contour to it, which gives it a, you can get in some tight spots. So, and so I'm gonna go over here to the portion. Any other questions on anything? Layout wise, like I say, it's going to be determined on what you decide to make. And you can just draw on there a little bit to give yourself an idea of where you're at.
Ron would like to know what kind of glue you used.
This was Tight Bond, regular old Tight Bond. You can use, I would stay away from super glue as the main, like if you want to tack it together with super glue, but use a Tight Bond. You can use epoxy. What I did find out on that mask that I did when I sandblasted it, the Tight Bond actually, the glue line didn't sandblast away, so it was a ridge, really strong ridge across that spline. It didn't matter because it looked okay, but that's something you'll have to contend with.
Yeah, I'll take some.
It's a question.
No.
These now, I don't know if anybody's used these before. It's a step drill. They come in assorted sizes. I got these, I believe, at Harbor Freight years ago. They work multiple sizes. They work awesome. And you can control it, like this here. I just put a mark there where I want it to stop. And then, I'll use that as a guide. But they're very nice to use on these. If you want to just, for the holes, the eye holes, they're very, very forgiving in the sense of they don't wander very bad, So, but anyway, that's and then you can come from the backside, give it a little opening if you like. So that's one item I like to use. These now, this is the I believe Sabertooth. Big Bob, is he our Sabertooth guy?
Yep.
Well, these were the other brand, and I don't remember exactly, Cutsall or something. These worked very well for carving. I have multiple shapes and sizes. They're very good for the carving portion. I have some smaller portions here, and if you use any kind of air tools, this is actually a reducer from a 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch diameter. I don't know. I don't remember where I got this. I have a couple of these. Some of these grinders come with 2 different chuck sizes, collet sizes, and some don't. So if you wanted to use a smaller 1/8 inch, you can get a reducer for your 1/4 inch. This will work in the air tool or even this electric. Works very well. And then I have pencil grinder, which runs 1/8 inch cutters. And this one is actually, this was a Harbor Freight also. I've had it for years. And then I picked these Carbide tools up, and they're very, they're pretty nice. That you can get some detail work out of them. This is specific one has sort of a diamond cut to it, and it throws off more of a chunk than a spur. And that works, and they don't grab as bad either. And then we have just the old Dremel system, used for years, and that works out real well also. And then we have this is a Ryobi. This is the power carver, and this thing works really nice. The options here. We have different. I did upgrade to flex cut tools, cutters, and they hold the edge very well. And then I have an assortment of hand chisels that I use to carving sequence. But anyway, I was gonna just go through a quick. Do a couple of things with each tool here to give you an idea of where we're going here. There you go. All right, maybe a little noisy. And this thing you got to be careful. This baby will grab. So. So I usually use an assortment of tools when I'm working on things to, I'm not stuck on one specific tool normally, and can't get that guy out of there. So depending on what you're fancy on, like I say, you can use all hand tools. You can use files, rasps, coping saw, and well, those of you are not familiar with it. This little guy, it's somewhat free floating until you press on the cutter, and I see a jelly tongue. I was going in the wrong grain direction, and it still worked out real well.
Those flex cut knives?
Those flex cut knives?
Yeah, the flex cut brand holds an edge. Unfortunately, the Ryobi brand that came with them, they don't hold an edge very well. The flex cuts are like night and day. Just well worth it. And so essentially, you just keep whittling away at this guy and get him to some way, shape, or form that you enjoy. And then the eyes are a little bit rough, hard to do. You know, they're just a little touchier. And doing the eyes by on the last one, just because it you have a little more control to like I say, grain wise, this one, the jelly tongue's a little more forgiving than normal other woods. You go with a basswood. Basswood works beautiful. You know, pine would work, but like I say, they're all going to have their benefits and their you know, pros and cons. And getting a lot of chip out on there, but the other benefit of making the mask like to order rather than using an existing bowl is that you can make this a little thicker wall, and because what's going to happen is it will get thin if you take this seam down. You'll end up losing some of your thickness, and that might cause you an issue depending on what you're working on or trying to come up with an end result. Anyway, any other questions, concerns, or anybody have anything that they want to coming up?
Yeah, I wanted to ask what what your starting diameter was. I didn't catch it when you. I think
what's your starting diameter?
6 inch.
6 inch.
The 6 inch, and it was just under 2 inches thick.
Thank you.
My first bowl was actually a little bit larger diameter, but it had the flat was missing on it. So, you know, basically, I could just peck away on this, but it's like watching paint dry. So once you get your shape how you ever want, and then you know, you can use your own. You can put hair. I didn't put any hair on that one, unfortunately. I was going to. So that's and no sticks. I didn't put any sticks or hair. So, you know, that's my trademark, I guess.
Hey, Ken. Yeah, Ken.
Any other questions?
Yep. Alfred's going. Go ahead, Alfred.
Yeah, Ken, can you show us again how you did that setup on your bandsaw? You had that tape there. I didn't quite understand the function of that one.
Yeah. I threw away the scrap, but anyway, I'll show you real quick. So basically, you just have to imagine that this is still on here. Yeah. No, that's all right.
Okay.
Hang on. I'm just trying to get the right side.
That fits.
You use that tape for a guide?
So what you'll end up having is you'll end up.
He wants to know if you're using that tape for a guide.
This tape I use for a guide.
No, the thin tape you put on the bowl.
The thin tape.
Oh, that was my original center line section.
So you know where to cut it in half.
Yeah, and so that tape I run parallel with the grid, or with not the grid, the grain. I usually run that parallel with the grain, and that way my gluing will be you know, strong. And so, you know, you can pencil it on, you can eyeball it. Like I say, there's different, you know, if you could make yourself actually a fixture, if you wanted to get that would fit in this groove, or a stop slide, that, you know, you could actually manually bring it up to that portion and use that as your,
Or if you have a fence.
or a fence, yes.
Yep.
And so the main thing is to have this glued down to something, because I'll tell you right now, this wants to flip, and it's scary. So you know, that
Ken,
this is just
Ken,
hot
what
glue.
I was asking is,
Yeah.
what is the tape on the bandsaw? What is that for? The tape on the
What's
bandsaw?
this for?
Okay, so what I did was, so let's go back, but say pretend this wasn't cut yet. And so what I do is, it's gonna actually, this board here now is gonna hit on the blade. And so then what I'll do is, I'll take and I'll measure from the end of this to the blade, and this one ended up being about 15 millimeters, 3/4 of an inch. So then, oh, excuse me, I'll take this tape and go 3/4 of an inch or whatever that dimension was, so that when I run this through, it's going to ride on the edge of that board or masonite, and then it'll give me a reference.
Okay, so if I get it right, is you have that tape so that you, when you follow that tape, it's gonna give you a complete cut on the board.
Yeah.
You have the whole surface cut. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's going to,
Because it's on an angle.
foot of your
You
bowl, you're
understand
not
that.
you're gonna barely touch that,
Exactly.
but you're gonna cut that other wedge,
Okay.
the 15 degrees out of that wedge.
Okay.
And like I say, you can use a fence if you're parallel. You can use a fence or so, either way. But that's just one way I found that was fairly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh man.
Okay, I've got a couple questions.
Yeah.
When you cut the bowl in half
Yeah.
originally, did you do it on the bandsaw or a
Yes.
table saw?
I did it originally bandsaw.
Okay, and
And
when,
so put it in zero.
okay.
That's zero. And then I had my tape, my green tape on there. Essentially right here. I don't have a hot glue gun. I'd cut this off. But, so, you know, I got my grain direction, and then I'll use that tape as just a reference to just shoot it through. But if it's taped to a board, you got a reference. You can use a fence if you want. You know. So there's multiple ways of getting there. The key is to cut your angle going backward into the, instead of the other way, which you can see I did the first time.
Yeah.
It's the wrong angle, and it doesn't look right.
Now, when you cut your 15-degree angle, you only did that on one half of the bowl?
Both.
You do both,
And
okay,
you end up with a 30-degree total.
okay,
Or if you do 22.5, which that red one was 22.5.
okay,
So I end up at 45 degrees
okay.
overall on that. So that's what gives you that that portion. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can explain on that. Touch base on. I'm a little bit short on time, but you know what? We're
That's it?
that's going to be it. You guys paint whatever you want, or is any other?
Any other questions on the process?
Versus leaving the tenon on the bottom or turning the tenon off, are there reasons why you do one and not the other, or what do you think?
Turning it on or off?
The tenon.
Well, the tenon is left on because when you spin that, you have to turn a bowl. Or if you have an existing bowl that has a foot on it, you use that. It's basically the thicker it's portion for your lips and your nose. Does that make any sense?
Okay,
So
so
you're
what
actually-
what are the dimensions of that foot then?
What's the dimensions of tenon?
Well, it's 50 millimeters or 2 inch, and then it's about 12 millimeters, ½ inch thick. That's my standard setup for my Novichok. And I dovetail. You know, people say not to, I do. It works. It's been working for me for 10 years. So that's what I do.
So basically, Ken, you need that tenant to form part of the lips. It's important. You have to. You don't turn it off.
Right. But so if you already have a bowl that's turned though, that just has a foot on it, you can still, you know, if it's thick enough, you can still use it, or you can glue a piece on and add if you want. You know, these are all going to be painted normally, so
yes,
you know, you can probably, and even on the back side, you might want to put a little Bondo in there. You know, it just depends on how deep you go to, you know.
Are you hot melting that bowl to the board, or are you using tight bond?
I use tight bond.
Oh, he's talking about this.
Oh, this is just hot glue. This is just blue tape, painter's tape, and hot glue. It's the cheap hot glue too. It's, you know, and just, this is a safety thing more than anything, to be able to hang on, because you can't hang on to this, especially if you're power sanding on a disc. There's nothing to hold on to. And I have taken like a piece of granite or a flat surface on the table saw with a sheet of sandpaper, you know, which I would have had to do on the club. You know, the thing is, I would have to do more manual work at the club meeting because I had machines to speed it up. But this can be cut by hand with a handsaw. You know, just make yourself an angle guide of some, you know, whatever angle you're looking for, and you can follow that guide with your handsaw. Do the same thing. So there's no set thing on this. It's a fun project. There's, you know, it's not a. You can make a medieval mask. You can make a like an armor from a knight in shining armor. You can make a mask. Layer these. You know, there's just, you can make a Viking helmet. I mean, just, you know, clown face. You know, tribal war mask, whatever, you know, whatever you.
Yeah.
So
hey Ken, have you experimented with different angles? Which angle do you find would suit most for, you know, making this mask?
Well, I started out with the first mask I did was actually 22.5 degrees, and so I ended up with a 45 degree total, and that bowl was a lot larger and deeper. So I got a lot of wraparound. These now were 6 inch diameter by 2 inch thick. I went to 15 degrees per cut, so it's 30 degree overall, and it gives a good look.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
If you go 45, it'll be more of a pod. It'll close it up more, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Depending on the bowl radius of your bowl and the contour is going to determine a lot of stuff. So it's going to be experimental, but if you sneak up on it, might be the best way to, you know, start small angles and then move on if you want.
Yeah, it looks like the shape on the outside is just a regular bead on the bowl, right?
Yeah.
It's just a continuous bead when you're starting turning the bowl.
As far as the rim, you mean?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the shape on the outside of the bowl when you're turning the bowl.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just a regular bowl shape with no OGs or anything on there. It's just a regular bead.
Yeah, but I mean, if you did have, say you had a different foot on there, different shaped foot, it's still, you know, you'll have a smaller nose or smaller mouth, or, you know, different.
Okay.
You may take that completely off of there. If you were doing a knight in armor headgear, you wouldn't, you know, it would just be, you would lose all this foot, and you would just have the, you know, the point of that center line. So you know, it's a sort of a fun thing, and you have to use your own judgment on what you want to make.
Yeah.
If you want to make it.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you a lot of openings. You know, you can change the angles, as you said, the shape on the outside. You know, we can do a lot with it. I mean, yeah. Thanks very much, Ken. It was very nice.
Well, I hope kept everybody awake. I really was not sure where to go with this, but it's just the general idea, and you know, run with it. And that's where I'm at.
Very interesting, so. Ken. Thank you. Very interesting. Thank you.
All right.
That's it.
I think we're good. Yeah.
Turn it back to Mark. Mark, we're turning it back to you.
Okay.
I'm going to log off my phone.
Okay, you do that. So we're going to have the President's Challenge and the Facebook Challenge. Are you ready to do that, Jeff, or do you want me to use some time up to get you ready? So one of the things that we also have is a tool review. Did anybody think about or have a tool that they would like to share with any of us? A new tool or something that, you know, a little trick of the trade that you find very helpful?
Well, there is something I can show if you'd like to see. I've built some articulating arms for my cameras and lighting so that I can get them where I want them in the shop, and I can show some pictures of that if y'all would like to see that.
Please.
All right, give me a second here to find it.
Okay, Jeff, while Matt is looking, can you prepare yourself for the two challenges? You're muted. We don't hear you.
Sorry about that. Let me share my screen. I'll show you the images for the President's Challenge.
Okay.
So that's what I keep you around, Jeff. It's for the techo stuff, mate.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, President's Challenge. Get this here. And I got to move everybody out of the way. Okay, first we got Alfred's. And that's image 1. Whoops. Second is Bruce Groff. Dave Alar. The second image of that's the bottom of the bowl. Very nice. Don Faulkner. Ed Wilkemeyer. Did a bowl with a really nice little bead along there. It's really cool. Glenn McCullough. This is something I'm looking at doing, so it was good timing. John Dizelle. Kathleen Gardner. Also Kathleen, top view. Mark Wallace, top view. That's gorgeous. And side view. Mike Lenaway, the Star Bowl. I have a lot of questions for you on this one, Mike. Paul Schultz. That's the bottom of it. Paul Zirkel. Richard Megnick. And Ron Pullman. There's another shot of that from the side. Yeah. And
yeah, that's mine, Jeff.
yeah, I wonder why yours separated and became on the front and the end.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So that's that's all the images. So if you can highlight me.
Very nice.
We have a total of 14 people who did the President's Challenge. So I got my handy dandy number generator. We'll shake it up and see what we get. Number 1, Ron
Alfred.
Pullman is the winner.
Oh, thank you very much.
Congratulations, Ron.
Very nice. Congrats.
Mark, do you want to do the Facebook while we're at it?
Please. So that was
Okay.
Ron Pullman?
Yes, that was Ron Pullman.
Okay.
So the Facebook challenge, we had 23 people that qualified for the Facebook challenge. So I'm going to put 23 in. And I'm going to shake it up. 20. Number 20, Richard Megnick has won the Facebook challenge. So you'll both be getting certificates. What we've been doing, I encourage Mark to do this, is assign a certificate to each person and then send them an email with a certificate number, because most orders are done online anyways. However they want it, just let Mark know. So that's it. Congratulations, Ron and Richard.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Matt, did you find your stuff for the tool
Yep.
review?
Yep, I can do that. Let me do that here. So this is an articulated arm I built that goes above my lathe, and the camera goes on the little bit at the bottom right. And this is all out of plywood 2x4s, including the knobs. The insert is what they call T-nuts, which is something I had no idea existed until I started building these. The T-nuts are embedded inside the knobs, and it's all standardized to 1/4 inch screws and nuts, 1/4 inch by 20, because that's the same thread that all the cameras take in the bottom. So I built this little arm, and it just, the knob on the left side at the lower end controls the entire camera, the entire arm lengthening, and all you gotta do is unscrew it and screw it to lengthen the arm and move it. And the knob, the star knob at the lower right, controls the little platform that the camera sits on. So this is something I built. This is the second one I made, and it's sort of based on those those little light fixtures you get. And if y'all are interested in let me see if this works. Nope. So these are some notes on how I did this and what I was thinking. And this will show up in the video. And here are some other notes and so on about how I did it. So it's all 1/2 inch plywood, except for the 3 of the arms are made from 3/4 inch plywood. And there's a link to the video that I watched that taught me how to do the arms, and a link to the video I watched that taught me how to make the knobs, and so on. So, and that's how the knobs are built.
Hey, Matt, can we add
Yes,
this
sir.
can we add this to our resources on our website?
Yes, yeah, I have the PDF all ready to go. I'll just send it to y'all.
Yeah, we can give it to Henry, and he can insert it in the website and on the Facebook page too.
Yeah, I built one of these. This one is for the camera, and one of the cameras, the camera that sits overhead of my lathe when I'm doing a demo. And I built another one that's sort of similar, only bigger, that has lights on it that I can put a light over my tailstock that's out of the way of my hollowing rig, so I can put light into my piece when I'm hollowing.
Okay.
Anyway, let me stop sharing. But anyway, I got 2 of these arms. Let me spotlight myself. So I got 2 of these arms, and one of them shines a light in my tailstock, so that when I'm hollowing, I can see what I'm doing, and it's above my hollower, and out of the way so that when I'm using my hollower, that it doesn't get in the way. So
I
anyway.
just want to say with Matt's help, I built one and I use it primarily for my vacuum. I can slide the vacuum back and forth on my work, and it picks up a lot of the dust. And I also attached a light to it, so it works well.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Matt.
they're hugely useful.
Yeah, thanks
Hey,
for
Matt.
sharing, Matt.
Hey, Matt, did you
Yes, sir.
CNC those parts or is that cut freehand?
You could. I cut them on the table saw, and then you know, just did the little rate. Let me go back to that thing here so y'all can see it again. I cut them out on the table saw. They're all an inch wide, and I just rounded them off either with the bandsaw or on my belt sander.
Oh, okay. Looks
Sounds
great.
like a project I want to do on the CNC, Matt.
Yeah, well, hey, knock yourselves out. I'd love to see your results. Like I said, I don't have a CNC, so you know, I had to make do. And watch those videos in the links that I sent, and they'll show you how, you know, how, I mean, basically my first arm is from that video that in the link. Click. In the arm video, that's the first one I ever watched, and it taught me how to make most of this. And my first arm is very similar to that. And I'd be happy to do a more in-depth explanation of this if y'all want to see that. So yeah, I use them all the time. They're great tools.
Well, very good. Thank you, Matt. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Well, then we'll go on to
I have something that along the lines of what Matt did.
Okay.
I wanted to hold GoPro camera on my lathe. I have dial indicator stands, and I just used a 1/4-20 bolt clamped where you put the dial indicator, and then you can mount your camera on that. And with the dial indicator stand, it has magnetic base. I clamp it to the lathe, and then I can put it wherever I wanted. And it held the camera right over the spindle, whatever I wanted, or on the ways of the lathe or something like that. So just the dial indicator worked for me. Not as good as what Matt did, but not as much range perhaps, but it was convenient.
Yeah, having the range is real critical to it, because it's like one of the things that I discovered. I mean, literally the first arm I built it was very similar to that one, Dennis. It had a magnetic base and it sat on my lathe bed, and it was always getting in the way of stuff. So that's when I decided that I've got to find a way to get this off of the lathe bed. And the one I have that's got my light on it now is mounted on the wall behind my lathe. And one of the other things you've got when you're mounting a camera to the lathe is any vibration on the lathe will transmit to the camera, and your camera will start wibbling. I'm sure you know that, Cade.
Yeah.
So that's one of the considerations you have to take into account too.
Just while there's a bit of a lull, Matt, this is the best I've ever heard you on a Zoom meeting. Now, I don't know whether you've changed your sound or whatever it is, but it's definitely 100% better. Like, I have trouble understanding you anyway because you're bloody American, but that's beside the point.
Well, you probably have. I'm probably easier to understand than Emma Cook is. Thank you. But yeah, I've been switching my cameras that I'm using the mic from for this to try and get better audio, and this one's got the best audio. So I tried a bunch of different things in the shop. I use a boom mic, which is better. But
yeah, I must admit, I either use this one that I'm on at the moment or another one that I've got. But I've never had any luck with sound from cameras unless I'm videotaping. That's different because you're standing there right at the camera. But when you're moving around the shed, you fades in and out and everything else. So, but no, I just had to say that it's the best I've ever heard you. So,
well, thanks, Ian.
Matt, How much was all the materials with the T-nuts and the bolts and all the wood?
I honestly, the wood was stuff I had sitting around my shop. I didn't go out and pay for it. I think for those articulated arms, you know, you go get a 2 foot by 4 foot piece of 1/2 inch plywood and you can make, you know, 2 arms out of that. You know, the T-nuts, I bought 100 of them for, you know, $10 or something on Amazon. So yeah, it wasn't very expensive. The bolts were more expensive, but you know, probably less than $20 for the bolts all told. So I think that the most expensive thing on that arm was the little quick change deal. I got a camera has a quick change thing on the bottom of it. I'll put that back up one more time. Go over here. Share screen. This on the bottom of this arm, in the lower right is a camera quick change mount. Okay, so on the webcam that I use in the shop, I've got the bit that goes in here, and it's just so that I can very quickly unclick the camera and scan it around my shop if I want to. But that's the most expensive bit on this whole arm. So,
Matt,
and Robo?
Matt, what's the top knob for, Matt? On the very top.
I have a 2x4 lighting frame I built to hold lights above my lathe, and that knob screws into the 2x4 above that my lights are on, and it just allows me to rotate it across the lathe bed. So, and actually the way I position it when I'm turning, let me unshare this, stop share, and switch to myself again here. The way I like, if this is above my lathe, above the piece I'm turning, I position that camera a little bit towards myself and a little bit off to the side a little bit. So this way it shows the tool and everything I'm doing when I'm turning on the piece. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's how I position it. And having that ability to rotate it across the lathe bed and extend it down the lathe bed lets me position that camera wherever I want.
Okay, Matt, Robo. Okay, also, maybe what you guys should be interested in trying is finding an ANR headset and microphone. It blocks out all of the ambient noise, because we use that in the airplane when we're flying, and you can't hear any of the propeller noise or anything.
Well, Zoom has some software in it that does that. So yeah, there's some software in Zoom that does that already. So when I'm turning or sanding or carving or something on the lathe, you can not really hear much of the background noise at all.
Okay.
Yeah, you can set it to low, medium, or high to restrict the background noise. And then of course, like a mic that's attached to your head is probably your best option, so it doesn't get any ambient noise within the room, or mix it in with the machine noise. But the software seems to work pretty well. One thing I was going to say about options of stuff for cameras, one option I use is, it's a little different. It's might be less expensive, I don't know, but I don't have the articulated option. So I'm just going to show this mount here I have to my ceiling. I have it bolted, and then this arm is a telescopic arm that I can move up and down. And then I just rely on my camera and the zoom aspects of my camera. But it's got your standard screw hole to screw in your cameras. But unfortunately, without the articulated arm, mine is pretty much stationary. And I bought that one on Amazon for probably, I don't know, under $20. But if you're just using your phone or your cell phone, another option is this articulating arm, bending arm. And this actually holds your cell phone or your tablet or your iPad or your iPhone. And that's perfect for if you make your cell phone one of your multiple cameras for your demonstrations. This is a good device as well. It bolts to the 1x6 on my ceiling, It's tightened just by hand. You can also use it on your desk, but it's got a stiff arm. So even with vibration, it doesn't really move around too much. So that's another option. And I think that was on Amazon for, again, under 20 bucks. So I usually use that if I use my cell phone as one of my cameras, or that's mainly for YouTube videos. But all my other demonstration cameras are usually on tripods or ceiling mounts or wall mounts.
Yeah, I run mine the same, Cade. Like I've got mounts that I can just change the cameras to wherever I need them. But these are the ones that I use out in the workshop when I'm doing the demonstration and everything. They're called aftershocks, and they're a Bluetooth one. I can't use them. With this particular headset, you're tethered to the lathe. You've only got a couple of meters you can move around. So, but this one I can work all over the workshop, and people can't talk about me behind the back either. So I hear everything that's going on, and they've got fantastic sound suppression, like to knock the noises of all the things, as well as the software. Like I generally use StreamYard for the demonstrations, but these are really, really good. And because I'm deaf, because of a disease that I've got, Meniere's disease is destroying the middle ears, this actually works on the bones in the front of the ear. So I can actually hear a lot better with these on than I can actually hear with my hearing aid in most cases. So they're worth having. Aftershocks, they called.
Thanks, Robo. Lot to be said for bone conduction.
Yeah, see what you've started, Matt.
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna try and turn it back to Mark so we can get on with the rest of the meeting.
Okay. So at this point, I think the only thing that's left is our show and tell. So I'll start off. You see this? This is
That's beautiful.
a platter that I made over Christmas break. I started out, painted it. This is cherry. I spray painted it black, and then I took, I don't know, my Dremel or the micro carver, and had a round bit in it, and went and made all of the impressions. Then started out with sprays. There's yellow, orange, red, and purple, and that's how it came out. The inside I used the abrasive paste, and then the Yorkshire grit, the two different, the white and the black, or the black and the white cans. Then here, there we go. Here is the little bowl that I made for my wife. She says this is the best bowl that I've made thus far for her. And it's one of those Australian burls that, I don't know, I've had sitting around the shop for a long time. Finally decided to use it. Then this was the bowl that I turned yesterday. I used the Sorby, two different size texturing tools. I used the Wagner, and then in here I used a couple different leather punching tools. The same, same for these little flowers in here. Then so I spray painted it black. Then I used the Chroma Craft Viking Silver to make it silver. And then I tried the gradient colors with red, orange, and yellow. Didn't turn out exactly the way I expected, but I like it.
That's very nice.
Then I put a couple, 3 coats of lacquer on it just to protect it. So that's what I've been doing on the weekends for the last month or so. Anybody else want to share anything that they've made?
Mark, this is John Dizelle.
Yeah, John, do you have that project
Yeah.
we worked on?
Yes, that's what I was going to show since you were showing yours. So this is the back of it. Mark turned this. So this is the back where he textured it and did it. And then this is the front. So this goes to Jeff for the member of the year. And I will get this to you, Jeff, tomorrow when we get the robust stuff.
Oh, wow, I am getting one. Wow.
There you go.
All right.
Might I just add there too, I think that's well deserved, that for Jeff Walters, speaking from an outside point of view. He always keeps us advised of what's going on via the email and everything. And it's been a tough couple of years with COVID and everything to get everything organised. So you have my vote there, Jeff. Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
I sure did pick a good time to become president.
I have some stuff. It's Howard.
All right, we've got Ron Campbell has asked to show a piece, so we're going to go to him next.
Oh, all right. Thank you. I'm gonna. You can't do sharing? Screen share?
I thought that we could, so I don't know.
No, we have to make him a co-host for him to be able to do that.
Oh, really?
Let me try this. Try it now, Ron.
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
There we are.
This is a piece I turned a couple weeks ago. I took it back out to the shop. I didn't have enough stain on the very bottom of it. So I took it back out there to stain and it fell 2 inches. I had it sitting on a platform to get ready to stain and it fell. And this is the net result of the fall. So at that point, with the amount of work I had into it, I ended up with this. I just hated to lose the piece. It's sitting here in the office now. It weighs in at 1.6 ounces. So it's a fun piece. I may not be done with it. I'm not happy with this curve here. So I may carve some more of that out. I was really afraid to carve it. It's so frail.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I was wondering what you were going to do with that when I saw you post the broken bit.
Did you sandblast all that?
Yeah, I did. I sandblasted all of it. This is one of about 10 pieces I've done. Tomorrow I'll order a new sandblast cabinet. I'm having a ball with it. I just love doing it, and it's pretty unique.
Yeah. Nice work, Ron. Beautiful job.
That was white oak. That was white oak.
White oak or red oak?
It was white oak.
Yeah, it's white oak. I'm sorry. Yes, it's white oak. I'm going to pick up some red oak next week so I can compare the two. In our area here in Michigan, oak is everywhere and it's cheap. So now I found a unique way to use cheap wood.
Very cool.
Ron, there's a French turner.
Yes, Pasquale Day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
amazing stuff.
Yeah, I've spent time with Pasquale at the 2019 AAW, and then I bought a piece of his work at SOFA, the Sculptural Objects and Functional Art Show in Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been following him for the last 10 years going to SOFA and seeing his stuff. It's great.
It's amazing work. I've got some eye issues in my left eye badly. And so I'm not probably turning as thin as I really need to. That was 2 millimeters thick when I started.
Yeah. Amazing. I have a piece to show.
Very cool. Yeah, we got Ruby is up next.
Okay.
You're on, Ruby.
Okay. I'll show a couple of items. This one's probably the easiest even a beginner in the club could do. You can call it a porcupine or a hedgehog, and you can see by the shape that it's not very difficult to turn at all, and that by drilling holes gives you somewhere to put the toothpicks. And if you wanted to give them away as gifts or use them at a craft fair, they sell very well. And it's a great way to use up scrap wood. And then couple months ago, I went to Austria to learn a new style of turning. It's not going to show up because it's kind of light in here, but this is called Filigree Turning, and it's a very old Austrian German technique. And so I thought I'd explore it for a bit and see how I like it.
Nice.
Oh,
Very nice.
cool. What did you
Very
use
nice,
to do the piercing?
Believe it or not, a V tool and a straight tool, hand carving tools.
Hmm.
None of it was done with power tools, other than the lathe. And the last piece I'll
I'm in a
show would
meeting.
be
That's all right.
what
We're
I
doing
did
show and
with a
tell.
piece of scrap
Should I make
oak.
anything for you guys? Should I make a pizza?
Yeah, so that was some
We've
scrap
got
oak
some
that
mics
I
we need
had
to
in
have
the
people turn
garage.
off.
That's
Oh,
nice.
very nice.
I was going to put maple leaves around it, and then I thought, geez, maple leaves on a piece of oak? No. So I went with a fall pattern of oak leaves and a few acorns. So it's about just over 14 inches in diameter.
And that is
Ruby,
beautiful.
That's just
can you
so
put the
beautiful,
hedgehog
Ruby.
back up for a second?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruby.
Yeah, I found anytime I go to a craft show or something that these things don't last long. And when I've taken them with me and given them away, to gifts, the people always get a chuckle out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have like a number of people at a dinner table and you put them on the table, they come in really handy.
Yeah, they're quite
Oh,
unique.
the toothpicks are not glued in?
Nope.
Oh,
They're
my
made so that whoever is using them on the dining table can just pick one out, or if they want to use them with hors d'oeuvres or something like that.
I really like that idea. I'm gonna steal it if you don't mind.
By all means, go right ahead.
That's a good idea.
What did you use?
By the way, Ron, it does take a while to turn the toothpicks, but it uses up all your scrap slivers.
That's what I was going. That's what I was going to say, Ruby. It takes a hell of a long time to turn the toothpicks.
Yeah, I knew that'd get to you, Ruby.
But it's great practice for the skew.
Exactly.
What did you use for the eyes?
I just painted those on, and if you're going to paint them on, pretend that this pencil is a paintbrush. Use the back end of the paintbrush, dip it in the paint, and just touch it until you get the diameter of eye that you want, or in the color. And then if you clean it off and dip it in white, and just put a little dot in each eye, then it gives it the highlight.
Great idea.
Cool.
Ruby, your painting on that platter is just spectacular. I know you said it was easy last week when we were on before, but that platter is beautiful.
Well, thank you, Ron. Well, it was the painting that got me into turning, because before I started as a turner, I ran out of wall space, my home, my brother's homes, my parents. So I started turning things like this so that I had something to paint on.
Yeah.
But at the time that I was doing this, and we're going back to the 70s, texturing and painting and things on turned objects was not accepted by the community. It was round and brown, and that was it. Okay.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I'm glad you have persisted.
Yeah, wasn't until the 80s. Yeah.
So who's next?
Benson,
I got
something. Howard?
I got Glenn has got his hand up, so we're gonna go to Glenn. If I can get to him here.
Okay, I've got my some items in a in a local shop boutique. And one of the things that have been taken off is potter wands. And so this is one that I just made, actually not for the shop, but for a friend of mine. And the handle is kind of unique. I did some nice carving on it. The end piece is an antler. And I put that in the chuck and turned about a 1/4 inch tenon, about 1/2 inch long, drilled a hole in the end, and then epoxied it into the end, and then did the carving work so that it kind of looked like the antler was growing right out of the handle. And I got to pass that over to the owner today, but I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out.
What kind of wand was that?
So like a magic wand, a Harry Potter wand.
I call them muggle wands because truth in advertising, there is no magic in the wand.
Oh, ye of little faith. The magic is all in the mind of the holder.
It does. Little magic doesn't hurt the checkbook either.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, who's
I don't
next?
know who's up next because nobody's posting in chat or raising their hand. So by
Howard.
all means.
I have a few things.
Mark,
Hello.
yeah, Bruce Groff here. I got something.
Okay, you're up, Bruce.
Okay, gotcha. I just completed a segmented bowl.
Ooh, very nice.
Nice tumbling blocks.
Which, you know, I learned a lot on. There were a lot of errors that I made on it, and I'm trying to.
Pull it back towards you.
Am I too close or what?
You got your background thing is blurring it out.
Yeah.
Put
Yeah,
it right in
pull it
front of your
back
face.
more.
Is that better?
There you go.
Something's reflecting off of it, I think. So is
No,
that-
it's your, you have your background blurred. And that's what it is. It doesn't know that it's
how do
not
I-
your face.
I don't know. That's a setting, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a setting in your Zoom.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
put it directly in front of your shirt.
There you go.
Okay.
That's better.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, this is my first venture into this complex of segmented, and I used cherry, walnut, and the maple in it.
Very nice.
And it turned out nice from the design. I'm still, the challenge are the vertical, the sides, because they came out a little bit different than what I had anticipated they would. But anyway, I had a good time, took a lot of time. Some of you know that I spent a good part of the later summer and fall moving our studios from the Russell Industrial Center downtown out to Oak Park. So in between, I was working on things like this. And I also, while I got you all here, I completed also several salt and pepper mills, which a practical issue. And I tried to use some different types of design on it.
What's that on the very top, Bruce, that keeps fading out? Okay.
Yeah, I just
That's
had
the mechanism for the pepper shake grinder.
Comes with the kit.
Okay.
Yeah, the innards, yeah. Mhm. And I have several more I'm going to also be doing, and I've been researching a lot of different ones. There are so many different techniques, and I know a lot of you people have done different types in the past also, and there's no end to it. And I'm going to probably focus a little more on that now that I've got a little bit more time. So, but anyway, I just wanted you to see that because this segmented piece took a lot of preparation work, which is was a big challenge in getting it designed. So anyway, that's my latest and greatest, and I enjoy you guys so much and gals of what you do and the ideas that it's so overwhelming. I just hope that we can soon get back into meeting together again and and interacting more. So
Thank you very much.
Very nice,
That
Bruce.
is beautiful.
thank you.
That bowl is beautiful.
Hey,
Now, we're
Bruce,
gonna go to Howard next.
My next door neighbor was cutting down pine, some huge pines. And I really hate to turn pine because it's always been just sticky and gooey and, you know, messes up your tools and such. But this was different. So the guy said, "Do you want some of this wood?" I said, "Sure." So I took a couple of pieces, and they're actually from the trunk of the tree. So there's no pine, there's no sap in it, which was pretty amazing. So what's happening is these lines, you know, the mold lines or the fungus lines are actually turning out to be pretty cool. And I showed a friend in California, like a large salad bowl, and she bought it like that. And she said, "Can you make another?" And this is what's starting. This is an Albert trick on here, an Alfred trick of putting tape on the rim to get it to slow down. It's you know, it's drying. But this is a big bowl. Right now it weighs 10 pounds because it's wet. And but again, you know, I turned it off center of the pith. But again, once you put some finish on here, these lines actually turn out to be pretty cool. So, and actually, if you're not using it for salad bowl, you can weight lift with it too. It's good.
Hey, Howard, did you put
Yeah.
any CA on that pit in the middle there?
Not yet. No, I have not done that yet.
Yeah, you might want to watch that because as it dries, it might want to
Yeah.
crack on you.
Yeah. This one was wet, and this is about a 1/4 inch in wall thickness. And fortunately, I had 0 cracks on it as it was drying, nothing. So I used the microwave a lot on this, but this won't fit in the microwave. So
Yeah, nice work.
thanks, fun. It smells good too.
Do you know what kind of pine it was?
Big.
Big. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I really don't know the differences between pines. I know there's Norfolk and all those kind of things, but I don't. Sorry.
It's all right. I like the spalting in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And you put the finish on it, and it really pops it, and it's cool. It looks really good.
Great work, Howard. I
Yeah,
think we're gonna go to Cade next. There you go, Cade.
All right, am I unmuted? All right, hi everyone, I hope all is well. I have a couple things to show and I have a little tip. So are you ever in your shop and you're having your favorite pop and then you're turning away, you go and you take a drink of your pop and you get a mouthful of shavings? One thing you can make is little pop can covers or coffee can covers. So now when I'm turning away, all the shavings and dust hit the top cap of my pop can cover. And then when I go to take a drink of my pop, I don't get all that added fiber. I actually get what I expected to drink. So these are really handy to make. And you can make them out of scrap pieces of wood or any of your leftovers. So what I do is I save my pieces from the ends of my boxes. So if this was a box blank, when I part my box off of the piece, I have this left over. Now save these because you can use these for many things. You can use them and you can make sanding discs for your lathe. So here's an 80 grit one. Here's a 120 grit one. You can also use them for pressure chucks or jam chucks. So here's one I use for contours on the inside of a bowl, but I also had to make it and use it for a smaller chuck. So you can use them for many aspects, but it's not necessarily a scrap because you can still make covers for your pop cans. And if you do craft fairs and craft shows, these sell really well because you can use them camping. They keep your bugs and mosquitoes out of your drinks. You can use them on the beach. When the kids are running around, it keeps the sand out of your drinks. So it's a very good sellable item at craft fairs and craft shows. You can make them as simple as you like. I had a small little piece of roasted ash here that I had left over. So I figured, why not inlay it in the center of the tulip poplar? So now I have tulip poplar and roasted ash to make something a little more aesthetically pleasing. So you can make them as simple or as complex as you like. You can practice and play around with inlaying. So that's a good little tip, handy for us wood turners, but it's also a really good seller at craft shows or craft fairs.
Good idea, Cade.
Thanks. I saw the Worldwide Woodturner Guild. Bob made one for his coffee cup, so you can make them as large or as small as you like. They're pretty versatile and functional, and you can make them as artistic as you like. This is a small decorative box I did. I had a demo about a week ago, and I did a decorative box with a heart-shaped finial. So the finial is turned, indexed, turned some more, and then carved a bit and sanded. The wood on this piece is roasted ash, which really accentuates the grain with the roasting process. It's done in vacuum chambers. And there is the inside of that box. So that was one of the practice pieces for the demo. This one I did, it's also useful because you can laminate some of those smaller flatwork pieces that you have lying around the shop. So here's another one. This was the practice piece right before my demo. It's made out of walnut, maple, African red mahogany. And then the finial is maple. Whenever I do the finial, I always do it as one of the accent colors of the laminated woods together. So that was one I did. Oh, here's the book match there. So that was a fun little project. It's a good project for Valentine's Day too, because you can make your loved ones something for Valentine's Day, or a ring box or a jewelry box. The one I turned in the demonstration was this one. Now this one is sapele, black walnut, lacewood, and then the finial is crabapple that I dyed red with chestnut spirit stains. We have a little bit of a variation which creates a bleeding heart. And yeah, that was a fun project. In using a whole bunch of my smaller material, because a lot of this flat material I got from an estate sale. I had a lady whose husband passed away, and she was looking to get rid of all this wood. So she had a whole bunch in her garage. I went over, and she had wine boxes full of a wide variety of domestic woods and exotic woods. And they were all planed and jointed on all faces. So I asked her how much she wanted for them, and she's like, how about $10 a box? I'm like, sure, I'll take them all. And I think there was only 25 boxes. So there's only so many spurtles and finials you can make, but it's another way to laminate some of those smaller pieces to give those boxes or spindle work or whatever you're working on added color contrast and depth with the color contrasting woods. And then tomorrow I'm doing a demonstration on a wig stand, turning wig stands. So I turned this one yesterday just as a practice run. It is 3 pieces. There's the base. Here's the top. So they're a really good fun project, a very good skill builder on all aspects of turning, both faceplate turning and spindle turning. And for a really good cause, put a face on someone going through something very difficult to go through. So I did that one for a practice run. And for fun, I wanted to turn a small miniature one. So here's a small one I turned out of brown maple and walnut, just for a little fun. So.
Hey, do you glue those together then?
Yes, they're glued
I mean, the
together.
big one.
Yes, it will be glued together. I just have it in the 3 pieces for when I do the demonstration. I can take them apart and talk about the connections and measuring the connections, and also have the examples as I'm going through the project. So I can show the blank as it starts, and then as it is taking shape, I can show all the different steps all the way through it. So that one I am keeping in the 3 pieces right now. But yes, normally I do always glue them together. So here's one in ash with finish on it.
Very nice.
Nice, yep. You know, Kate, if you took that and used that design to make a holder for a paper towel, that'd be a way to make some money also.
Yeah, they're also good for cowboy hats or hat stands.
Yeah, wig stands. Uh-huh.
And wig stands, and yeah, that's a good idea. Thanks. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Keeping busy, even though daddy daycare some days, but he's keeping us on our toes.
Thanks very much, Cade. Yeah, those are great projects. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Paul Newberger had something to show also. We're going to go to him. Got to unmute yourself, Paul.
Okay, did so. A week ago Saturday, we were blessed with a grandchild. So
Mazel tov.
Baby's first rattle.
Yeah. Those are nice.
And of course, I burned the information on the back, which I'm not going to show you because I put the wrong year on. I got to sand it off and do it over again. So
You're
I
allowed
guess.
to be human, Paul.
Yep, it is what it is.
Congratulations, Paul.
Goofed up and didn't even catch it till she saw it. My daughter.
Congratulations, Paul.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Paul.
Congratulations to you too. I know you
Mazel
just got one.
tov.
Thank you.
Oh,
9.5 It's 9.5
what
weeks.
finish did you put on it?
Mineral oil. It's soaked in mineral oil for half an hour.
And then what, couple days?
Just wiped it off because mineral oil is a laxative. It's the worst that's going to happen is the baby's going to have a dump if he sticks it in his mouth. Put anything else on, you know, mom might not like it. So I just used mineral oil, medical grade mineral oil. I also have in the basement veterinary grade mineral oil for threading.
Thanks, Paul. Nice work.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't have anybody else who has anything to show as far as I know, so I'm going to switch it back to you, Mark.
All right. So we think that we're going to be able to get back into the church next month. So we'll let you know one way or the t'other. But thanks everybody for showing up. We don't
I
have
have a
any-
question.
Okay.
I have a question. This is Dennis. Quite honestly, I forget if I paid my dues or not. Is there a way to find out if you're paid or not?
You can contact Paul Schultz and he'll look it up.
Yeah, I can look it up for him.
Okay.
I'm just looking for something to write this down. Hang on. Let me get a paper and pencil to write this down.
Mark, what's the president's challenge for next month?
Oh, yeah, good. I was thinking that we could practice our mask making and see how many creative folks there are out there. I know it's going to be a challenge for me to try to do something like that.
Yeah, me
That'd
too.
be cool.
Just in time for Fat Tuesday.
Oh, is that coming up already?
Yeah. Time flies when you get old.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, so if there's not anything else, does anybody have anything else you want to bring up?
Quick.
Doing a great job, Mark.
Oh, thanks, you're welcome. Okay, so with that, I'm going to stop the recording and we'll call it a day.